It's the Distracted Driving Podcast, throwing out the status quo.
Hello, I'm Sean Genovese.
Rex Williams.
And you found the Distracted Driving Podcast.
.com.
Welcome. And we have a special guest for this preamble show. My daughter Alyssa is here to chat with us in her podcast debut.
Yay!
Yes, welcome. So on our last episode, we talked to Brett Hoffstadt, a friend of ours from a previous life, and we talked a lot about his book, one of the books that he's written.
Goodnight Moon Base.
Goodnight Moon Base.
One of many. Do you want to tell him how many he wrote? We asked him later, how many books do you have published? He's like, 200. What?
No big deal. No big deal.
200?
There's a little bit different. He does like to publish like journals and notebooks and things that have like a template of lines you fill in yourself and a different title or cover and stuff. So,
but even
of those,
even with the original content books, I think it was 5 or 6, right?
No, it's 12. He said it.
12. Yeah. Oh, I was
that
halfway there.
He co-authored also, but still 200. Like that's a lot.
Well, Alyssa has read his most recent book, Goodnight Moon Base, and she's here to tell us a little bit about it. What did you think of the book?
It was a very interesting book. I will say that.
Okay, why? What makes it interesting?
It's kind of like Goodnight Moon, except not. Like
so you're familiar with the Goodnight Moon book? Did your dad read that to you every night for a long time? No.
No.
Your mom?
No.
You found it in the library.
Oh, you read it yourself. Well, okay, I remember distinctly having read it to you at some point.
It's interesting.
Well, at some point, maybe.
Yes.
Not that I remember, though.
So it is obviously a version or a takeoff of Goodnight Moon.
Mm-hmm.
But with the addition of
a moon base.
A moon base.
Also, I found that it did have I forgot what it was called, the moon thing that they just launched onto the moon.
The rocket?
No, not the rocket.
Rover?
The rover, yeah.
Oh, the rover. There was a rover in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What was your favorite part of the book? It's a short story.
It is.
Yeah.
The rover.
You like the rover? Okay. All right. Is that a book you think your friends would enjoy as well?
Well, it depends on the friends, But most likely, yes.
Yeah. You're probably a little bit over the target age.
Yeah, it's a little old for that.
I mean, it's a book designed for children younger than you, but obviously, she's giving me a look. No, it's designed for you. Yes, of course. Did Goodnight Moon Base have a red balloon?
No.
That's the part of Goodnight Moon that I remember. Because they get to that point, they go, the red balloon.
I didn't see a red balloon. Am I being tricked?
Do you want to be an astronaut?
No.
No? Do you want to go live on a moon base?
No.
No.
What? Not even after reading that book? You don't want to live there?
How come?
I don't want to die in space.
Well, if there's a moon base, then you'd have a place to go and survive safely.
Yeah.
I don't want to go up and out of the world.
I gotcha.
Oh, you think that's dangerous?
You like it here on Earth?
Yes.
Okay.
What about driving across the country?
Yeah. What about driving across the country?
That's different.
It's dangerous.
Sort of.
What about flying in an airplane?
That's different as well.
Well, someday flying to the moon.
Actually, we just had a conversation about going in an airplane.
We did.
Uh-huh.
because
a lot of stuff happens.
We had family that we were driving.
Yeah, so we found ourselves at the airport.
Yeah.
And what question did you ask me?
When can we fly again?
Yeah. And I said, why do you like flying?
Just what did I say?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
What would you say now if I
Because
asked
it's
you, why do you like
fast.
flying?
Because it's fun. And the suspense is just
Okay, think about the fun, the suspense. You mean like taking off and the rockets and stuff? Wouldn't it be like 10 times more in a rocket ship going
No.
to space?
no.
Wouldn't
No,
that
that's
be
it.
awesome?
Airplanes are a different kind of suspense.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I
so
believe
no moon base for you. You've gotten accustomed to gravity, and you'd rather stay
mean,
local.
If there was a ride that took me like made me fly, maybe that would be like with no gravity. That would be fun, but I don't want to go out of this world.
I see.
Okay. Well, Jeff Bezos and those guys are doing those flight into outer space where they can become.
In the air balloon?
Just to the edge.
No, it's a
in
rocket.
rockets.
Yeah, they've done 12 flights or something?
Yeah, you go up just to the edge of
Origin?
space, and you're up there for not long, and then
A
you
few
come back.
minutes and then come back down. Yeah, a bunch of
I think
famous
I'm
people.
good.
Nope, she's good. She's
Okay.
good. She's happy with an airplane. We'll just take her on an airplane trip. But that doesn't mean, just because you don't want to go live on the moon base, doesn't mean you can't enjoy Goodnight Moon Base.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it will inspire some other kids to want to go make a moon base.
Yeah,
Not this kid.
But not this kid. No, that's okay.
it's all right.
Well, the next portion of our conversation with Brett focuses a lot on creativity, and we talk a little bit about the arts, and it's becoming a recurring theme now with STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and how that has influenced the people that we have on the show.
Yeah,
Huh?
and Brett's amazing, and so yeah. You're gonna really like the second part.
And yeah, actually, we started talking afterwards. His books are self-published, and we were discussing some of the different publishing options. And I remember I published. I did the same thing. I self-published a book a few years.
Oh
back.
yeah, don't you have a book? That's right.
I do. I probably should have gotten a copy of it.
It's called. Shoot.
Oh my gosh!
Shoot?
No,
Is that-
it's on the
shoot.
tip of
It's
my
called
tongue.
Shoot.
What's it called?
Apparently, you don't read it to her every night.
There's a road. 3 words.
Road
3 words.
Road
This is fine.
gypsies. Road
Scholars.
rash.
Well, the Road Scholars is
Roadkill.
the website. The book is called Not
Roadkill.
Quite.
Not quite there.
Oh my gosh, not quite remembering.
Not quite there yet, but not yet. Just not quite there.
There. Yeah, maybe Alyssa will be in the next book. Brett inspired me to get back to writing. But the first book I wrote before she was born, and it really it didn't start out to be a book. It just was a collection of stories that I wrote and then sent out to people while I was traveling.
And I was not there.
You were not there, no. It's in 3 parts. I was doing year 2000 testing in hospitals, so I was traveling around the country, and not to brag, but I might have invented blogging. I would just write something every day about how the day went, and I would send it out on an email distribution list to people. And then I enjoyed the traveling so much that my friend Chris and I decided, hey, let's take a cross-country road trip in the summer of 2000. And so we did the same thing. Every day I would just write a little update and publish it on the website, send it out to the email list. And then when I graduated from college, I did what every engineering student does, as we talked about in a previous episode. I went to Switzerland for the summer and worked with 6 to 10-year-old kids at a summer camp.
Nice.
So a lot of stories there.
I bet. Did you blog about it?
And then I just went back at some point and kind of reflected on all those stories and filled in some blanks, put it together, and published a book.
That I'm not in.
That you're not in. But I think it's time. I even talked about a title for the next one. It's going to be called The Speed Bump Chronicles.
Oh, nice.
Is that us?
Yeah, you're the speed bump.
I'm the speed bump?
To be run over.
We can work this out. We can make Caitlin the speed bump. I'll be the speed limit sign.
Ah, okay.
Which Caitlin does not follow.
You could be the slow down sign. I think that still works with the metaphor.
Okay, can't wait to see
Caitlin
it.
the speed bump.
Read it.
All right. Well, long before my next book comes out, though, we will finish our conversation with the author of Goodnight Moon Base, Brett Hoffstadt. And I think you'll like it. What?
What about the illustrator?
What about we didn't talk to the illustrator. The illustrator wasn't on the show. Maybe that'll be a different episode. You want us to talk to the illustrator?
Kind of.
You know what I found out?
Art.
You like art. Okay, well, you know what we found out? There's a coloring book version of Goodnight Moon Base.
Yeah. So you
Same illustrations, but you get to color it in and kind of customize it. Oh, I think she's excited about that. Should we get a copy of that version?
Need to get it.
They can't hear. It's a podcast. If they're listening, they can't see you shaking your head. Okay. We'll get the coloring book edition.
Let's do it.
You also can't see me if you're distracted and driving.
That's true.
That's right.
So don't get distracted.
While you're driving.
Listen to the rest of our conversation with our friend Brett.
Isn't that being distracted, though?
Not if they're listening.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit more about Goodnight Moon Base for people that don't know about it.
Okay, sure. So it's a futuristic spin-off of the classic popular book Goodnight Moon.
Goodnight Moon.
Goodnight Red Balloon.
There's been many spin-offs of Goodnight Moon, right?
Oh yeah.
So it just really. So I was thinking about how can we encourage more people to be aware of what's happening as we go back to the moon, to be a part of it, and hopefully you guys know and agree from our innovation work, you have to see something before you can achieve it. You need a vision for it. Somebody needs a vision. And so, and I have learned and come to believe that if you can build a crystal clear, passionate vision for yourself about something, a burning desire, as Napoleon Hill said, then there's no question if it'll happen or not. It's just a matter of when and how. So
you're building this vision like for children.
Right.
Or anybody.
My belief, my premise with the book Goodnight Moon Base is that if we have enough children going to bed every night, dreaming with a crystal clear vision of us living on the moon peacefully and permanently, if that's the last vision they have as they go to sleep every night, and it's the first thought they have when they wake up, then it's a done deal.
Genius. Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's great, right? Like, they're just going to get older and say, hey, why aren't we doing this? Oh, we are? Okay. Or I'm going to make it happen. Or, right?
Well, I think if we have enough of them grow up and say, I need to turn that vision into reality, then they'll do it for us.
Well, they'll start asking about the moon base, and then when they realize it isn't there, they'll kind of go the route of Elon Musk maybe and say, well, we got to do it. What kind of response have you been able to personally observe? I don't know how much interaction you get to do with people that buy the book or kids. I think I've seen on LinkedIn, maybe you do some reading, but how do kids...
Connections, right? And promotions with other moon companies, like you were saying, organizations and things. And
Yep, it's been a very positive response. I've been grateful for it. A lot of parents and kids say they love it. They read it every night, and there's some parents who they've purchased it for their school, or they've given it to their school library.
Oh yeah.
In fact, one of my campaigns coming up soon, I plan to announce, is a program for people to work with me to donate a book, Goodnight Moon Base, a copy to their local libraries or local schools, so we can get it in there. But
and you got Elon Musk to talk about it, right?
I'm working on that still. Yeah. He has unofficially endorsed the book because
Yeah.
he said we need to build a moon base, a science moon base.
There you go.
He did say that.
Endorsement for Brett's
And
book.
It goes without saying that there's going to be people going to bed on the moon base, and they'll have to say goodnight. So that's about as clear, I think, as you could make it.
Right. He just
My speaking of getting the book into schools, so I have a copy, and my wife is a kindergarten teacher, so I'm gonna have her make that one of the books she reads at some point during the upcoming year.
That's great. Also, I'll say that I wanted to have fun with this myself too, so I made a coloring book edition of the book.
Oh, really?
So it's the same exact words and illustrations, but as a coloring book. So kids can put their own vision into the world, right? Use their own colors and textures, and then it's okay to tear out those pages and put it in the refrigerator if they want. Yeah, so.
All right, maybe I'll have to connect with you and see how we can get 26 copies over to her school. And then we'll get Jackson Brooks from one of our previous episodes to 3D print a rocket in his new, Jackson's 3D World business.
That was a great show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I think the more we involve kids in what's happening, the better, because
future.
Kids have dreams to do things and and make things, and they still have ambition. So, and that's also one of the premises behind the book Goodnight Moon Base, is the sooner we can inspire kids to achieve great things, we need to maximize the potential of people throughout their lifespan. And so that's one thing I also realized throughout my whole career. I've tried to be a mentor and promoter of aerospace careers and STEM careers, but I found it was more effective the younger I started working with kids or talking to kids, because they have more of their lifetime ahead. They haven't made as many choices yet, so they can make different choices. Right? Once you've graduated college, it's really hard to change course. Right? You can do it. Right?
Yeah.
But if you can get them when they're young and really, propel them forward in a certain direction, it's better. Right? So that's why I thought making a children's book, a bedtime book for kids that could be one of the first books they ever read or listen to, that would hopefully make a bigger impact. So.
That's great. Going to the source. Yeah.
I want to ask you about something else, but just to wrap up on Goodnight Moon, because we'll probably end up splitting this up. Thank you. Goodnight Moon Base. So where can people go to get the book?
They can go anywhere books are sold. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or through my website, goodnightmoonbase.com. They can get an autographed copy there, or some other specials. I plan to have more things available there too, but anywhere books are sold. And if it's not in the bookstore you want, you can please ask them to order it for you, and they should be happy to do that.
Yeah. Awesome.
So you are the at least the second guest that we've had on the show where there's a connection with the arts, and I kind of shared my own personal creativity. I don't know what you'd call that. I guess drive, and in a a previous conversation, we started talking a little bit about STEAM with one of the other guests. So that's putting the A for arts into science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Yep.
So you shared a little bit about your musical talents. How has that played a role in maybe your career or your you have such a tremendous passion for innovation the same way that Rex and I do. And so I'm just wondering, do you think there's a connection with your artistic side? And was it intentional, or do you think it just all kind of came together, or maybe there's no connection in your mind?
Well, I think it's hard for me to generalize to other people in some ways, but for me, for most of my career, definitely my early career, I had my engineering technical job that was very technical, analytical. And then I had music was my hobby outside of work that was my creative outlet. And what really changed for me in a positive way was after I released that musical album of my own and said, okay, now how can I combine my analytical and creative skills and passions together into one effort? And so I think it worked great for me. So I think
writing about
the more other people can do that, I think the more rewarding they'll be, the more successful they'll be. And really, I believe the best engineering work and technical work is works of art. It is like an artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think engineers get enough training on that when they're going to school, or exposure to it?
I doubt it. I don't think so. There's famous stories of Steve Jobs. He took the calligraphy class in college, right? And that was why Apple made more than Arial font available when it first came out, or whatever the typewriter font was, right, for computers. The green
I've heard that story.
So yeah, I think the more we can encourage and include creativity and artwork in our thinking and our technical people, the better off we'll be. Just like I think there's a lot of creative, artistic people that would benefit if they appreciated science and engineering more, right? And physics, things like that. So they can be grounded in reality.
What would you tell say an engineering student today, somebody just starting college, they're going to study engineering, what would you tell them to make sure that they are accessing and cultivating that creative art piece of their engineering personal portfolio, so to speak?
Well, I think I'd tell them just to stay aware and observant for their own creative energies and passions. You look for ways to be creative and seek out those opportunities, whether it's trying to invent new things. Something I did was when I was young, I started a list of invention ideas and just kept a running log of them. And most of them were stupid and wouldn't work.
But yeah, you're keeping ideas. You're putting it out there.
But it's like others have said. It's like a muscle. Creativity muscle. You have to exercise it. You can't just show up on the track one day and expect to win a 100-meter sprint. Right? You have to, or a marathon.
Idea behind the idea machine. That's a book too.
Mm-hmm.
When I was
look for ways to exercise it and keep it healthy, and you never know. Also, another lesson like innovation is you never know where the good ideas are going to come from or who they're going to come from. Also,
exactly.
I've been surprised a lot with people who I just very mistakenly might not have had a high expectation for, but I've been pleasantly surprised. So you never know where greatness can come from. So.
Well, and Rex and I had the privilege of interviewing our friend Dennis O'Donoghue, who was the vice president of engineering at Boeing, and he was very, I hate to overuse the word passionate. People have heard me talk about the dangers of passion before. He was very motivated, let's say, to make sure that the company was accessing ideas at all levels of the organization for that very reason, because you don't know where the good ideas might come from. And a big part of Lean, of course, is looking to nature for inspiration, because you don't know what might be out there that might inform the design of a solution to a problem.
Yep. Well, let me give you a quick story also for unexpected source of ideas, and this is from Boeing again in our innovation cells. So it's also a plug for Boeing and I think their support. So we had a guy.
They're not a sponsor of this podcast, by the way, just to be clear.
No, but I guess
we are looking for sponsors, though.
Indirectly,
they should be, maybe, right? But so we had this. We called them innovation cells, where employees could come and use their own time to work on projects. So one guy, his name was Sean, and he was a non-destructive technology technician from the factory, where they would use sonograms and other lasers and things for non-destructive inspection of our parts, right? But he was a huge space geek and science geek, and Star Trek fan. He built his own lightsaber, I think, out of toys and things. But anyway, he had some great ideas. So longer story short is he came up with an idea to use quantum physics, where imagine quantum particles, they have a positive and positive and negative source. You can separate them, and then somehow when you flip one half of the particle from positive and negative, the other one flips in reverse, because they're still connected somehow in a quantum fashion, even though they're physically separate. Okay, this has been demonstrated on small scales in labs, but he came up with the idea of saying, well, that's just ones and zeros. So what if we use that principle to create communication, instantaneous communication at a distance with quantum technology, where if you could imagine somehow you separate these quantum particles by miles, and then you flip one from 1 to 0, the other one goes from 0 to 1, ones and zeros can become communication, right? With enough ones and zeros. So he filed that as a patent, got help from Boeing, and it became a patent that he filed, and now it's out there. So the basis of interstellar communication, like we have in Star Trek or Star Wars, that is a patent from him. So,
I remember he taught, and
he was
this cobwebs.
He was just this random factory technician that you would never guess would come up with an idea like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
And now he's got a patent on subspace communications.
Yeah.
Exactly. Instantaneous over a distance. Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go.
There you go.
You never know.
You never know. So there's a lesson for people at any level of any organization. You never know. And you said something early on, Brett, that has become a mantra for me and Rex as well. You don't need permission. Don't wait to be asked.
Yeah.
Don't wait, and don't ask permission.
Right. And also try not to get fired. That's a trick.
Try not to get fired. Yeah, we're going to add that to the list.
Only one of us has not experienced that.
Listen, it's an age of abundance, but let's not get carried away.
Right. There's another fun thing. I think it's important to have a sense of humor. So you might remember one thing I did was I made some anti-successory posters that used our corporate principles or values that they had. We had, every corporation has the whatever guiding principles. Well, I used those, but I riffed off them to make some like parody posters, basically. Right. So one of them is
definitely did not ask permission. And they were not used by HR.
I don't know. One of them, though, I remember it was about judgment. Judgment was the big word on the poster. and the slogan underneath was, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Which is good advice in general.
That's right. I've used that with my kids sometimes too.
Yeah. I keep telling people the story of when I was in high school, and the baseball coach was subbing for our teacher, and we had a test that day, and he came in and he says, all right, he's handing the test out. I'm going to tell you what I tell all my players. Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. Just don't get caught.
Hey, now.
Always cheat.
And you know, the more I reflect on that, there's a certain brilliance in there.
He really said that?
He really said that.
I don't think that's a good lesson.
Yeah, but maybe what he was saying when he said cheat is like breaking the status quo.
Right.
Going against the
I'm
norm.
sure
Right.
that's
What he meant.
I don't know.
System.
I don't know if kids would take it that way, but it does remind me. A great quote I love from Pablo Picasso is to learn the rules like a master, so you can break them like an artist.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's
that.
what he meant.
I think that's a more elegant way of saying whatever he was trying to say.
Cheat and don't get caught. Yeah, be an artist.
Right. Artful. It's all about the art and the creativity.
Yes.
Well, that's probably a good place to park our vehicle for this round.
There's so much more. We didn't talk about your whole drone movement.
Yeah, well, maybe another time. But this has been great, guys. So thanks very much for having me on your show. It's been a pleasure.
Brett, thanks for joining us. And we'll send people over to your website. We'll put a link to it. Yes, Goodnight Moon Base. Don't forget the base.
Right.
Moon Base. It's going to happen.
And we are, of course, at distracteddrivingpodcast.com. See, we've both got that little extra word that's very important. Yeah. All right. This is Distracted Driving.
Guys. Thanks for being creators with your show. So.
Thanks, Brett.
All right, I'm gonna let Rex end the show this time because he got lost last time.
Well, how did we do it? Did we agree on how it was supposed to be ended?
I said I'm Sean Genovese, and you said I know.
I forgot about that.
So maybe if you go first.
All right. Thanks for coming by on the show, watching the show. DistractedDrivingPodcast.com. I'm Rex Williams. And
I'm Sean Genovese.
Oh,
thanks. We'll see you next time. Yeah, we're not going to let him do that again.